Greetings, true believers, and welcome to an All You Can Geek spoiler cast bonus round, whatever you want to call it. I'm one of your hosts, Jim Gass, joined by Corey Feinsod
You hit me with a bagel.
and Tony Korkanakis.
Yo, yo, yo.
Welcome, guys. This is a bonus round spoiler cast for
Bagel
Spider-Man
guy.
Across the Spider-Verse. So what we do on these spoiler casts, if you're just tuning in for the first time ever, we're live on Twitch Tuesday nights, by the way. Join us live. But if you're just tuning into spoiler casts, we obviously it's called the spoiler cast for a reason. We will not forego any spoilers here. We will talk about what we want to talk about, and usually pick apart the movie and the good and the bad. This I don't know how I'm going to talk about too much bad, but we'll get into that. But this is like I said, last warning, folks, because we're getting into this. It's going to be fun. I cannot wait to talk about this
So
movie.
much to talk about in this movie.
I can't wait.
It's so good.
So that's it. We're done. Spoilers can go now. You're warned. Guys,
The first thing I want to say is not necessarily spoiler or anything, but just the way they construct this story. Because if you don't know, this is a part one of a two-part movie. Like, this is a kids movie that's a two-parter. Like, what are you doing, Sony? What's going on here?
We left the theater. I couldn't talk about this on the movie cast, but your kids were so disappointed when we left. Like, when's the next one? Oh, we have a whole year. Oh no. Yeah.
No, it's a part one, and we knew this before. Like, it was announced. It's supposed to come out in 2022, and like, but
I know. I forgot.
but
Like,
the way
I
they
was
constructed
so-
this story is
Yeah.
amazing. Because I was like, what I loved is it starts with Gwen Stacy and Spider Gwen, whatever you want to call her, Spider Woman, and she is essentially like narrating, telling you her story, and you don't even realize it, but she's not talking to us. She's talking to the other Spider-Man that she's recruiting at the end, and that is like awesome. Like, I was like, whoa, this is amazing that they're like it all comes around to the end, because it felt like this was her movie telling us that, or telling, like, basically saying, here's all the things and the reasons why we need to save Miles, and Miles is right, to the other Spider people that she recruits.
And I would argue that, because we touched about it briefly in the movie cast, but I think this was a Gwen movie above.
Oh, absolutely, it does.
It might have
I mean,
been-
it starts with her and ends with her.
They did a fantastic job of balancing the stories between the two characters, to the point where my question about you guys, I've never read any Spider-Gwen stuff. Like, I never read it, but I am like so interested. Like, is she like
But
acting like
Tora
this character?
Rodriguez, I think Tora Rodriguez is the series. So you wanna?
Okay, I didn't even know I could talk about it in the movie cast, because like I don't want to spoil anything for people, but like I'm like, which one do I want to read that's kind of like this character? Because this is like, I liked her in.
That's what this is based on, and in
Okay.
her world, her universe, is watercolory. That like the art style is based off of this comic.
Good. I'm gonna check it out now, because like I've always liked, like, her character in the Ultimate Spider-Man universe was great. Gwen Stacy, that is. But like,
I love how there's like every Gwen Stacy
Yeah.
has a relationship with Spider-Man.
Yes.
It always goes bad.
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
Gwen comic, the Spider Gwen though, is like I've never really got to read that stuff, and like this has gotten me so hooked on reading more about her, because I'm like,
No, I mean
holy crap,
they
it's fantastic.
turned like this weird Gwen Stacy, like they put Gwen Stacy in everything. She's Deadpool, she's this, she's that, she's like, but like this character for her has become like really its own character that it's like it's a fit in the universe. It feels correct. It feels right. It feels like it's not a joke or just like this Gwen Stacy weird knockoff thing that they're doing.
Yeah.
It like became its own thing that like deserves to be here.
Yeah. No, but anyways, this movie, if you didn't know, if you didn't listen to the movie cast, which please listen to that, but this is not only one of my favorite movies this year, but my favorite movies of all time. One of them, if not the best.
I mean, I
Spider-Man-
said like right afterwards. Well, like we didn't post anything in the Discord until you saw it, Tony. But then when you like say, "Oh, fantastic," I was
Yeah,
like,
and we chatted
this,
about it. Yeah.
we like as far as sequels go in a trilogy or the second film in a trilogy, this may be the best one. Like we know, like Empire is always gonna be like
Yeah.
I mean,
at
this
the
is
top.
so
But this for
good.
me,
Yeah.
this to me almost like
Yeah.
beats that.
I can see that.
So good.
I can see
It
that.
is- guys, I'm a Star Wars fan, and this
We-
it is so good.
And
Like,
it may be recency bias. Who knows? Like we look at
Yeah.
this like 30 years on the way, and we might be like, "Oh, this other thing is."
it does matter about sticking the landing. It does, and I said that when we left the theater. So like the follow up needs to be strong and really good. I feel like But then like look at Jedi. Like if you go back to Jedi wasn't as strong as Empire, and it's still
Well, no.
Empire's still as good as it is. So it's
Hmm.
like
This movie stands on its own for sure. It
yeah,
stands on
I
its
think
own because it's a Gwen movie.
yeah. I mean the only difference here is this is like part one, part two, whereas Empire did have more closure in its stories. Like this had a couple of things, but Empire like really did at least close out that episode's story. Whereas you're waiting. You have a hell of a cliffhanger in this. So you didn't have as much of a cliffhanger in Star Wars. So
Yeah.
that's the
Solo,
only
man. What are
difference.
you talking about?
It's the only difference. That's not as big as what we had here. There's a
Okay.
lot in the balance here. Um, but man, we talked about it in the movie cast yet again. Style artwork in this. Uh,
Amazing.
I mean, I can't even. The,
You gotta know, Jim. You gotta know.
Ben Riley. Uh,
Andy
I
Samberg.
Mr. Emo. I just like I loved his little the way the style
Muscle
of
definition.
uh,
Muscle definitely.
it made me remember the comic books, and I'm like,
Hmm.
holy crap, wow, like holy crap, they're like
Yeah.
just nailing the style of what they wanted to do here, and they did that so well in the first movie. If you remember right, they did it great, and then they just like
Well, they right away they start with Gwen Stacy in a watercolor. The watercolor like animation was so
Yeah.
cool. Like that was awesome to see how it bled into each other and how
Yeah.
it was basically like a mood ring in a way, like
yeah,
different moods, different tones and stuff. And then you had this like sepia version from
Hmm.
like a
Yeah.
1500 like
Yeah.
vulture, and that was so
So
cool
cool.
because
Yeah.
it was so drastically different from what this art style is, because it was this like Vitruvian Man style Da Vinci
yeah,
looking
Da
type
Vinci
of
looking, yeah,
thing.
absolutely, yeah.
And so it was really neat to see that right off the bat, because we knew that we were gonna get some cool stuff based off with the first one, and here just throws it right into it. Like, what an awesome opening sequence, because we didn't even get like the credit, like not
We
like
didn't get Miles for like 20 minutes.
yeah, it was crazy. And wow, I was like blown away by that character itself and how it was like this was postmodern art museum thing that they were doing, and it had this Da Vinci style vulture who's
Yeah.
you
I
know
mean, the only thing I want to chime in, because I agree with everything you guys said, but like, to me, this is a shining example, especially right now in just the advent of like AI and Chat GPT and art in general.
mm,
But this movie is a shining example of you cannot something like this cannot have ever been created by just soulless AI, where it's like, yeah, make me a bunch of Spider-Man and whatever, and get this type of quality out of it. So just, I hope
I,
anybody that does wind up watching this recognizes how much work went into this
I
by
mean,
a
I,
ridiculous team of artists that put
sure.
their
I mean,
heart and
that's
soul
the
into
thing.
this.
Like, I would argue that most artists couldn't do what this pulled off. Like, give
No,
this
no, no, yeah,
team
for
that much
sure,
credit.
for
Like,
sure,
it is
absolutely,
incredible the meticulous amount of art they did to change. Like, just because when you're an artist, like, you have your style. Like, it's like
right,
you could be like you could be like was an inker. It's basically like a tracer kind of thing to mimic a style. But even when you do that, you have your own style mixed into it, and they somehow still managed to hide that, to give us multiple different styles. In it was unbelievable how you
mm-hmm.
pull that off in art, because like anytime you look at this stuff, like there's a signature from our artists. Like you see
Mm-hmm.
it, like you know a signature. Like when McFarlane does his drawings, when
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking that
Jim Lee.
Jim Lee. I'm sorry,
Yeah,
Jim Lee. When they do their art, you know it's them.
yeah,
Like because there's a staple, and so like every artist has that, no matter how good, like good or
Campbell,
bad,
like
whatever.
Tony's best
You
bud.
have that. Yeah, you have that staple, but to not to make sure meticulously that you don't fall into that while you're
mm-hmm.
doing this, it's
Yeah,
unbelievable. It's
The
unbelievable.
attention to detail in
Yeah,
this too, where it's like they did purposely had things in this film where it was like not necessarily mistakes, but it's like unfinished work, and like purposely put stuff in like the pencil lines with Spot and stuff
yes,
like that. It was just like
yes,
amazing little details, and then like the little comic book pop-ups to explain, oh, hammer space, what is hammer space? And tell you hammer
yeah,
space is an infinite bag that you can just pull shit out of.
yep.
It's like all that stuff is just really like puts the comic book to brings it to life in a way that you just haven't seen on
yeah. I
film
mean,
before.
there's so much to go through with this movie that I do not think we can break it down entirely in this spoiler cast. But I will say that we're gonna break in a lot of it. But so we missed something. I'm sorry. But leave your comments as well as
Yeah,
to what
tell us
inspired
your
you,
favorite
because
stuff.
there's so much here, even down to the pointing Spider-Man.
Hmm.
But there, like this movie to give its impact on just my view when I watched this movie, it literally lost track of what time it was to the and I completely had forgotten how it was part one
Yeah.
uh until the rooftop scene with her, and I was like, oh crap, this is a two-parter. I didn't realize it until that part. I was like, oh, that's right. And that's when we left Corey, I was like, I forgot this was
Yeah.
two parts. And I was so engrossed in the movie that I didn't get pulled into that part till I knew it was ending right there, because I'm like, there's no way they're going into this. And I'm looking, I'm like, holy crap, it's already like, what was it, we saw it at 11, it was 1:30 at that point, and I'm like,
Mm.
this movie's over. And I'm like, holy crap. um I completely lost track of time, and I cannot remember the last movie that I watched where I was like, that didn't feel like 2.5 hours. Two
Mm.
and a half hours didn't feel like it at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. That's to give this movie credit. But
Mhm.
so guys, major stuff with this stuff. So the Gwen Stacy, her movie, I think that's actually pretty accurate, which is awesome because we had a Miles movie in the first one, and Miles was still a great character in this, and we will touch on Miles
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely like main
The
character
yeah,
B.
yeah,
Yeah,
co-main character, whatever.
absolutely. I'm not
Assistant to the
taking
main
anything away
character.
from Miles. Yeah, I'm not taking anything away from Miles whatsoever.
Yeah,
But this was Gwen's arc for her movie, and there
and
might
that's
be
what I
like,
like.
yeah,
Like I was insinuating earlier is that this works as a part one where it feels still like a complete movie because you have Gwen's arc
gotcha,
in
and it
this
kind of
Complete.
gives you a little
because
closure
you
with this.
have
Yeah,
Mhm.
right in the beginning you have that conflict with her father, and
Right.
then you have the
the growth.
resolution with
You
her
know, and I
Yeah,
have
father.
to say,
we get the growth.
this movie, for especially for being aimed at kids or marketed towards
Hmm.
kids or what like that. But so you have that awesome intro sequence with the Renaissance Vulture and everything like that, and
Hmm.
then obviously Spider-Man 2099 shows up, and then he calls her
Yeah.
back up with Spider Woman or Jessica Drew Spider Woman, and they work together to take it down. Awesome sequence. But then when Gwen is trying to walk away, and then her dad, points his gun, tells her to freeze her, and it's like, oh, okay, this is the moment where she's gonna do her reveal and stuff like that. And then to me, it went the exact opposite of what I figured, from maybe cliche, how that would go down.
Hmm.
Where like she's like, yeah, I'm Spider Woman dad, and like he just like you could see the conflict and the pain in his face, but then he like's trying to read her rights, and I'm just like, oh, like that's
Yeah,
cold blooded.
I
Like
mean,
that's
Yeah.
so. Oh man, like my heart just broke for her, right? Because like I'm just like, damn, like your own dad is like
Mm.
gonna arrest you, for doing something. What she said later in the movie, like this is what I was meant to do. This is what I want to do. This is how I want to help people, and just like so excruciating. And then she just
also
goes
to watch
off
her
with
loss
them.
of Peter Parker,
Hmm.
her
Yeah.
loss
Oh
there
yeah.
was,
God,
yeah,
like that.
yeah,
To know that Peter Parker knew all along that it was her, because he was like,
Hmm.
he said that,
yeah.
Gwen. She's like, who you
Who's
talking?
that?
Who's that? And it's like,
Yeah.
oh God, like he knew
Oh,
all
that's
along.
true. Churro chimed in here. The colors told the story before the reaction. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean that's true. That's
Yeah.
true right there. Yeah.
Yeah. So it broke my heart. Like surprisingly super emotional, because like the thing is, like
Hmm.
in the first movie I love Gwen as a character, but she seemed to be more like the cool upperclassman. She's been experienced a little bit. To Miles is like freshman, like I'm learning how to become a superhero, and like we get to see more of her backstory and more of her father relationship and stuff like that. So it's
Hmm.
just like, oh
And
God.
they actually like flash through the entire movie as
Yeah.
well. You
Yeah.
saw like all the
Yeah.
stuff like she's talking about, and you flash through like the entire like movie, like him fighting with
Yep.
Spot and all this other stuff that's going on.
Yep.
And I was like, whoa, that's interesting.
Yep.
But yeah, so like that sequence, great opening sequence, like we said. Then we get to meet Miles, and it's the parents we see, and they're great. Like the parent, like both the parents in this movie,
They're
They're
stars.
fantastic.
They just have good chemistry with each other
they're
Yeah.
and with Miles.
so likable.
Hmm.
They're so
Hmm.
likable. Like that's it. I mean, they're like the classic.
2
Man, I
months,
like these people.
3
Yeah,
months. That's 4.
yeah,
When
yeah,
you see Smiles, you tell him 5 months, and we love
yeah,
him.
yeah. I just like, I absolutely loved their contribution to this, because like they know what he's going through and trying to
Well,
fit
it's
in.
like they want the best for him, and they then they don't want him to go to Princeton. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, you
Yeah,
gotta stay
yeah,
close.
that was great.
In
I
New
mean, that's the
York.
natural parent reaction. In New York, and he's like,
Yeah.
"It's New Jersey. It's not that far."
Yep.
But
But yeah, and then like Spot, we get Spot's reveal, and like Spot just sounds like a stupid character in the beginning, like, and like
But they did that
he even
so
jokes,
well.
right?
Yeah.
And they even joke about it's like, oh, the villain of the week, um and all that. And
Yeah,
it's like,
it's
oh,
like,
I'm your nemesis. You
yeah,
created me, and
you
I
created
created
me.
you, and it was like such a silly thing, but
Yeah,
the way it builds throughout the movie, and the way that you realize how integral he is to what's happening,
yeah.
and everything
You're just
is
trying to
really neat
rob the
build up.
trying to rob that ATM was just hilarious part in the beginning. It
He's
was
like,
just like, oh my
technically, I'm
gosh.
not robbing you because you know it's the bank that owns
Well,
this money.
yeah,
This
I'm
is so fun.
I'm real. I'm in the banks, which is the problem. That's what she like throws in there.
Mhm.
Um,
And then he
but
kicks his own ass into himself.
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh
Oh my
god.
god,
Yeah.
come on.
I think he kicked his own ass. Yeah, that was great. But I just yeah, I mean that part was great getting into the movie. But yeah, I mean I usually have a guide open to follow us through all
That's
the
okay.
next steps here. But I'm like free flowing this like just the
Oh, they even sorry, just like to
go on.
jump around, but like they
I was
even
going
like the bagel stuff, and it's like they call back to the
The
bagel
bagel. Yeah.
moment. But then like the bagel, and like I was thinking, oh my god, this is like everything everywhere all at once with the bagel and all
Yep.
the multiverse stuff.
Yeah.
And then they do a call out to it in the freaking movie as well. It's like all everywhere, everything or something.
Oh, did
It was
I
like
miss?
a poster. There's a poster with a bagel and it says like movie, and it's like all over the place
Oh,
and
that's
everything
funny.
or something.
Oh yeah.
I was
Okay,
like,
yeah. I did remember
I
that.
mean they also included we had Doctor Strange mentioned from
Mhm.
you know
Yes,
Doctor Strange.
the
Don't get me
live
started
action
on
Doctor
Doctor
Strange.
Strange and that twerp on Earth 19999
Yeah.
stuff like
Yeah.
that.
So I think they did a great job mixing their
See,
multiverses in
so
this movie.
yeah, so really quick, so like the thing is, so Into the Spider Verse ends with Miles laying down on his bed listening to music, and then the portal opening up with
Mhm.
Gwen
Right.
asking him
That's
to like
true.
hang out or whatever
We
like
get
that.
a version of
We
that
get
here.
right, we get this version, and I have to say like at first you're like okay, and like directly after that intro sequence with Gwen and the Spider-Man 2099 and Jessica Drew, it's like okay, is this happening like very closely after? But then as they're hanging out, and I have to say the part with them just hanging out, swinging around New York City as Spider people and like solving the petty crimes and stuff like that while the music is playing, it's such a satisfying sequence, and it's like man, I could watch like 30 minutes of this, just like them like just
Yeah.
swinging around the city, having conversations, having fun as like teenagers and while solving crime in New York City and stuff like that.
Like,
But
that by itself was a movie in itself.
yeah,
Like, it was a movie by itself. Movie within a movie. Was
yeah.
What it was. Yeah. Yeah.
But I have to say, like once you learn, when she like disappears for like that minute or two to like set up something, you're like, oh, she's not necessarily here for Miles, she's here for Spot. And I have to say, like when she's like, oh, I'm part of this elite small tag force,
Very small.
task
Very
force,
small.
very small and stuff like that. But then you
Spots are
learn,
limited.
as, when shit goes down and he sneaks in with her and stuff like that, or they go to the Spider-Man India.
That was great.
That sequence is so cool. Yeah.
What was that called again?
Mumbattan or something.
Mumbattan? Yeah.
Yeah,
Is
that-
it Manhattan in
Mumbattan?
yeah.
Mumbattan,
He
I think it is.
Paviter, he's such a great Spider-Man. I loved his like just whole.
It's the Deadpool guy that
Yeah.
Pinder is the voice.
Okay.
Oh, is it
Yeah,
really
that's
interesting?
fantastic. He did a great job, and I love that Spider-Man. That was
Yeah.
fantastic. That was such
I
a
love
cool...
how he used his webs too.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
was very creative with like that and his bracelet, and I just loved how he's like very hyper about everything, and he's like,
Mhm.
like when he was giving his backstory, and he's like going through it. It reminded me of what's his name from Ant-Man, the side character.
yeah.
Where he's like
Louis.
Louis, yeah, he's like, and then this, and then this, and just like he's like, and then my hair, I just get up and like run a little coconut oil through it and stuff
I don't
like
use
that.
any product.
I don't use any product. It's like whatever. But that whole sequence with them and then Spider-Punk, Hobie showing up, like that sequence was
Hobie,
so
yeah,
awesome.
He stole the show, man.
Yeah, like he was a really cool character.
Hobie?
I was kind of skeptical of him at first, but like
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
so moving into what I wanted to talk about, unless you guys wanted to hit anything else in that.
I mean, I love what you're moving past the India one.
Yeah. I want to get to the.
Well, I think I love the canon event because that kind of got us into something that needs to happen for a Spider-Man origin story.
Yeah.
And like the second that was said, and then you watched possibly the girl's dad dying.
The
I
captain.
was like, okay, I'm like, that's an impactful moment. That's what they're talking about. And then he saved him. I was like, oh man, that's awesome. He can do whatever he wants. But then you follow that up with like the impact of what that means with the Spider-Man
and
2099.
what's that actually gonna do to the
Yeah.
Spider-Verse?
I love
Real
that
quick
Spider-Verse.
before we move past
Yeah.
moving from Manhattan, like with Gwen and when he's invisible and he hears
Oh,
everything
he
that's going
follows
on,
her.
like,
Yeah.
and it's like you find out like he's more important. There's something with him that's different, and it's like, why is he different than like why? What makes him like that he's not allowed to be there, not
Hmm.
allowed to come? Like, why is this so important? And like, you got kind of like
The
plants the
foreboding, yeah.
seed
Hmm.
for what's gonna happen, and I thought that was really neat and well
Yeah,
done
it's good
there.
storytelling. Yeah, for sure. So when we get to the Spider HQ,
Yeah.
after that event, I mean, it's so cool seeing all those spider people, and obviously there's a lot of like references,
So much.
homages, and stuff
Yeah.
like that. They even
Yeah.
had like the spider buggy character and stuff like that. We had the Insomniac PlayStation Spider-Man, even though we had already seen him because his roommate was actually playing Spider-Man
Yep,
PS5.
yep. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, and stuff like that. But the part when they met Miguel O'Hara, or what is that
I
his
forgot
last
his
name?
last name is now. 2099 Spider-Man.
Yeah,
I know that.
2099.
I know you meant yeah.
Played by
Yeah.
Miguel. So,
Isaac.
yeah,
Isaac.
Oscar
Isaac.
yeah, Oscar Isaac. Like
Yeah.
he did a fantastic job. But like when he's like going down and like just explaining to Miles like the whole canon thing and what that
Yeah.
means.
That's what I was getting to. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
and he's
cool.
like, yeah, you're and your dad's getting promoted, and Captain
Captain.
close to Spider-Man has to die. And I was like, oh shit. But like the fact that like this is like one of the most impactful things about the movie to me, where he just like Miles is just like processing this, but then he looks behind to Gwen and Peter
Yeah.
B. Parker,
Spider.
who showed up
Yeah.
with his
Yeah.
daughter, and they
Mayday.
kind of just like, yeah, Mayday. They just kind of like shrugged, and I was just like, yo, that is like so cold blooded. Like how are you guys men and women, and you're like, yeah, we know your dad
Mhm.
is supposed to die, and we're just gonna let him. And I'm just like,
And
Gwen's
we
dad has
didn't
not.
tell you
Yeah.
all
Gwen's
this
dad has
stuff.
not died yet, but she knows it's happening. She's like, whatever, it's
Yeah.
gonna happen. Yeah.
And to me, like, I'm not saying, I was upset at these characters, and I'm not saying they're bad characters for it, because like I think good characters have to have flaws as well. But like this is a part of me where I'm like, yo, if I was Miles, or if I was like another Spider, I'd be like, yo, you all are fucking crazy to think that any of you, like your loved ones that did die, would want you to stand by and do nothing to help somebody else, prevent, a death or something like that. So to me,
That's
that
right.
like where Miles is just desperately looking around for any support
I
and
mean,
any
that's true, but,
assistance.
like, Shiro just said too, like that betrayal's twice because they knew about his origin, like
Yeah.
with the spider.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
They did it twice. They did
Yeah,
it twice.
they
to
did
him.
it twice
Yeah.
to him.
Like,
And
the second one was more impactful to Miles from them than it was the shrug.
right.
But go on, yes, go on.
But so to me, and like the thing is, like, because when we're seeing all these scenes and the whatever, and Miguel's breaking down, and we get
Dude, literally, this literally confirms this is part of the MCU.
yes, because that is the Loki, the
Loki's. Yeah, instead of being sideways, that they made it into a tree,
Yeah,
and it's
they made
like
it into a tree.
literally the same exact thing.
it's
from
the same exact
TVA
thing,
or
which
whatever.
is blown. But when they're going to that, we see the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man example of Captain Stacy dying. And then we see, Ben, Toby's Peter
Yeah.
Parker and his Uncle Ben and stuff like that. And, the thing is, we didn't see Tom Holland, his Spider-Man there. And I wanted to...
We did see Prowler, though.
we did see Prowler, with,
did.
what's his
Donald
name? Donald Glover.
Donald Glover, yep.
And to me, I wanted to be like, Tom Holland, his Spider-Man, like his Peter Parker, absolutely would not have gone along with any of the shit that was going down. He would have been with Miles, been like, yo, right?
He's gonna be in 3.
And no, he's definitely gonna be in 3. But that's what I love, because like, especially coming from No Way Home, where like he was like, I want to save these villains. Like I want to save, even though they're not mine, I have no attachment to any of them. Like his Aunt May was like, no, you need to do the right thing. So I was like, God damn it, Miles! Like, why couldn't fucking Tom be here with you? He would have helped you. Like he would have like just fucking ride or die with you, man. I was just like so upset. I was just like all these Spider-Man, especially me personally, I was like so disappointed with Peter B. Parker, because it's like, yo, like, did you not learn your lessons, man? Like what's going on with you? You have a baby and you're just gonna be a fascist follower? Like, fuck you, dude. I was so mad at him.
So,
Yeah, I feel like...
this whole section with the Spider-Verse realization and the multiverse aspect and like all those Easter eggs, all awesome and everything. But like this is one of my dislikes of the film is all of these spider people. Like they all are just gonna like appoint Miguel as the leader, like, and just follow whatever he's saying. Like these are Spider-Men women, like we're saying, they're heroes. Like why are they just now these followers? Especially the one sequence in the bullet train where they're all just like chasing. Like what is happening right now? Like, do they all feel like everything has to they almost felt like the TVA agents, where it's like you have
I
to make
think
sure everything
because
happens
Miguel is the
the way it
example of what
happens.
because he's the example of what happens when you try to not let it happen. So
Right,
they
but the
all
thing, the
follow
whole
that.
thing that they like for me, like what I was like, and Miguel was saying to him and saying like, you are the anomaly, and like
Yeah.
you're not supposed. But I feel like that's the reason it can be. It's okay. It can happen. Like he can save.
He hasn't realized that yet.
Yeah.
That's the point of the story. That's
Right.
what we're getting to in part
Well,
two.
none
I'm
of them
sure.
have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he's the reason. The reason why he's the head leader because he's the one that's experienced the fall apart universe. The girl fading,
I mean, it's
basically
like
going away in his arms.
one of the worst reasons though to put them.
But that's the thing. That's the thing is like I would have been like if I was Miles or I was one of the other Spider-Man like it was recently recruited. I've been like, excuse me, that's bullshit because you're not anomaly. Straight up Miguel died and you tried to replace him. That's not saving somebody. You tried to replace a dude that was dead. That is fucked up, man. That is super fucked up and that is not cool.
It's true.
But, like
yeah,
it's just like just because
I was like
yeah,
little bit of a
yeah.
issue with that, but
Yeah, that was the only because I was like I can poke holes in this logic, bro. Like, and like you have all these Peter Parkers and others.
Peter B. Parker even points out, it's like you are the only one. Like, why are you not funny? Every one of us is funny.
But yeah, it's you have all these. You have all these Spider-Men and women that are like super smart and scientists and whatnot. And it's like nobody was like, well, you know, if you think about it, it's not like it was an anomaly. You literally tried to replace a dude that had died canonically. Like Miles is not trying to replace, you know, Peter A. Parker in his universe. He is the new like that's the thing I loved about his the short clips where it's like his apologies on YouTube. It goes Spider-Man number two apologizes for like the baby powder whatever. That's like I love how they call him Spider-Man number 2. Like
yeah, I mean there was so much like just plugged in that was so good and but yeah like I obviously Miles is the difference because just not even that but like his powers everything with him is different as a Spider-Man and he just proved you know saving that captain it's starting to make the unit we're starting to fall apart so we don't know the fate of that universe so like that's the idea of what they're trying to protect. So Miguel clearly has a good idea of what makes things fall apart in the multiverse, and that's why I think they follow him. So I was good with this whole thing following him. I didn't have a problem with it because I felt like there was enough examples where they're like, you know, he's the most.
No, I don't disagree with his motivations, but just the whole thing with all these other Spider-Man, you're going to seriously say only one of them, like Miles Morales, this singular one is going to be the one that says this is, you know, because it's funny because it's almost a dig to the writers, which like, hey, we just going to show every single Peter Parker variation and how they all have the same exact fate, and they're all going to be alone and sad. Like Aunt May's going to die,
you know,
Uncle Ben's going to die.
For most of them, it's already happened. For most of them, the events already happened, so they've experienced it. So together, they've all known that this is going to happen to all Spider-Man.
Yeah. So you know what I want to say to this is so first of all, the other Spider-Man that did side with Miles is Hobie, and that's what made me love that character because before Miles goes to see Miguel, he says, make sure you listen to what he's saying before you sign up for this, right? And you're like, what does that mean? But then we find out quickly what that means.
And he backs, like, he talks the talk and he walks the walk. Also, because he backs up what he's saying. He's like, fuck the authority. Yeah, he's like, I'm out of here. This is not for me.
Exactly.
I quit, by the way.
And he was also like pulling stuff off.
Like, creating his thing. Like he's like nicking these. I was like, what's he doing with all this stuff? But what I want to say is about this part and about the Kane thing. I want to say that the sub theme to this movie overall was just a giant, maybe not a middle finger, but that's the term I'm going to use for this. But the middle finger to the idea that Spider-Man, or whatever we want to call this, the Spider characters, have to suffer and have to endure loss.
Oh, absolutely.
That makes them, right? And because I feel like, you know, and I've said this so many times over the years, like I don't want to see the Waynes die anymore, you know, and every time we have a new Batman movie. Same thing. Like, one of the parts I loved about Tom Holland's Spider-Man, like how Marvel was like, we don't need to show Uncle Ben dying. Like, we've seen Uncle Ben die like a dozen times in different forms of media and stuff. Yeah. So I think, like, this is them saying, like, Miles is different and he can be a Spider-Man without having to have this loss define him as a character. Like Miles, you can't be a Spider-Man, right? He lost his uncle, but like the thing is, like, well, we have to also let your Captain Dad die. It's like,
Right.
Why? Like, why does it have to be a part of? Why does it have to be a part of Spider-Man lore that their close captain friend has to die? It's so stupid and it's archaic and it's old and just fuck you. And that's what, like, no disrespect to the
we have
writers
an
that came
example.
here, right? But like, you
But
don't
they have a
need
plan
that.
with it. Like, but we might get that in part 2 because, like, if you look at the ending of this movie with Prowler and him as Prowler, with his dad being dead, you know, you see what happens. Like, it's not the origin story for Spider-Man. They show you at the end of this movie that that's not his origin story. His dad dying does not make him into Spider-Man, so it does not need to be a canon event.
Right.
That's what I
but
got
that's
from,
what I
that's
think
what I got from the ending.
and that's what I think it's ultimately going to lead to, hopefully in the third one. But
That's what I'm saying. Like, give them time to let them unveil this whole thing. And like, I understand like your gripes with him being the leader. I get it, but they have.
I'm not even talking about the
credits.
credits. I'm just saying this is what I consider the theme to be for this movie is that, you know, Spider-Man doesn't have to have a close captain friend die. He doesn't have to have a father figure die in his
That's
life.
what they're hoping to show. Like,
It's
they
like,
can do this and fix
all right,
it.
well, that's what I'm hoping.
We've seen hundreds of instances of this already, so
Right.
this is like that's the whole thing, and I think that's the like you're saying. I agree completely. This is the point of this film is that Miles Morales not necessarily can have his cake and eat it too, because I even mentioned that. Like,
Yeah.
no, if you get two cakes,
Yeah, they did say that. Yeah.
but like you can have a character with happy parents, like that are loving and caring, and he can have a superhero life without a tragedy with his parents, because he had like he went through like his Uncle Aaron
yeah.
was his
Yeah.
kind of mentor and like a figure that he looked up to, and
That was his catalyst, really.
yeah, and that was
Yeah.
from the last movie. So he's already had that happen. So he does not. You
He
don't
doesn't
need,
need
to keep doing
additional-
it.
yeah,
you don't need to. You don't need to keep.
It's like oh,
punching this guy when he's down.
It's like, oh, your father figure like uncle died. Okay, well that's part 1, bro. Get ready for part 2. Guess what? Part 3, you don't get a romantic interest. Happy ending.
Right. She's gonna betray you
Yeah.
too. Like, and like everything you thought she was is not gonna be what you thought.
Yeah, or like the whole thing with Gwen Stacy about like how, you know, she will always have a relationship with Peter Parker and will go miserably.
Well,
Like,
so,
you know.
yeah, I mean that's what I was referring to. But also, like, I think also the whole like middle finger you're saying to the comic book writers was like with Peter B. Parker having a baby with Mary
Yeah,
Jane.
exactly,
They,
yeah.
Like in the comics, they like totally destroy that relationship.
They never let them get together. Yeah, ever. Yeah. So never let them have a kid. You know, be happy. It seems like Peter Parker can never be happy, and that's kind of what the theme of this movie seems to be tried to correct. Hopefully, we'll see how part 2 goes.
Man, the sequence. Let's talk about some sequences too.
Yeah.
Because, like
the chase sequence. The chase sequence, yeah.
Yeah, like once he breaks out and like Hobie even shows him like what to do, like use your palms, remember?
Yeah,
and
use your palms. Yeah.
And then from there, he just bolts, and this sequence was one of like the most like visually amazing, just because you have so many different Spider-Men and Spider-People and actors, and Miguel is such. I think it's Miguel or Miguel, whatever his name is, Spider-29. He is such a good antagonist, even though he is not necessarily the antagonist, because we haven't even talked really about Spot, but I feel like the villain of this movie is not a character; it's like the plot. The plot is the villain of this film.
Yeah. He's the reason they have to. They try to save his uncle. That's really what the plot is. But he's the only reason.
The chase sequence was so cool, and seeing all the Spider people and
different art styles.
What I have to say about Miguel is like, I mean, I love Spider-Man 2099 as like a good, you know, other version of Spider-Man that's not Peter Parker. But in this movie, like they made him so menacing. Like when like the way he runs or the way he was climbing and stuff like that, like everything just so more like I just want to say like strong and imposing. Yeah, and like it's like. I would, out of all these spider people, I would not want to get chased by this dude. Like this,
his
like
webs are like some of the coolest.
Yeah, like the laser, like whatever. It's like he is so imposing, and like it was really funny. Like just rewinding a little bit to when Peter B. Parker showed up with Mayday, and Mayday's crawling around and whipping around, and like I just loved how she was like climbing on top of him, and he's just like deadpan, like having this like straight face on him. He's just like catching her and stuff like that. It's like trying to have an adult conversation here, Peter. It's
hold the baby, hold the baby.
You know, well, that's a good call out too. It's like you're the only one that's not funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that chase sequence was so good. I mean, we got to see so many different Spider-Man, and I just thought it was so cool because like you have this Spider-Man that's still relatively a rookie. You know, he's only a year and some months in, and you have this gamut of spider people chasing after him, and you know they're even like, "Where are you running? You can't, you know, blah blah blah. You can't, you know, what's your plan?" He's like, "I don't have a plan," and stuff like that. But I just loved when they got to the vertical train, and then you have that part where Miguel is just tearing into Miles, and he's talking about how you were never supposed to get bitten. You were a fluke. This, that, and the other thing. You're
the anomaly. You're the original one, whatever.
Yeah, you're the original anomaly. There's no Spider-Man in the universe because it bit you instead. And like, it's just like, Jesus Christ, dude, you are like just totally tearing into the dude, and like everybody's behind him, and nobody's saying anything. But then Peter B. Parker is like, hey man, you're being a little rough. This is not how we talked about it. And I'm just like, no. And then Miles goes, you talked about this? Like, you talked about this? I'm like, oh man, like I felt so bad because like
keep coming.
In that moment, like I just totally felt like Miles as a character is like everybody that, because when he was talking to his parents early in the movie about like where he's been and he doesn't have friends and he's like naming all the other Spider people, and it's like just to have them like disappoint him, and exactly in that conversation where his mom was like, I'm just worried that people aren't going to make you feel as welcome and loved and, special and all this other thing. And it's a direct hit at that. And I was just like, God damn, like the feels right now, my heart is broken for this dude. Like, I'm just like,
the fact that he knows now that they all had access to him.
Yeah. And they didn't do it. It's just like, oh my God, like my heart just broke. I was just like, you are a better dude than I, because I would be like just so fucking furious. I would just be like, how can you call me my friends and stuff like that? And
well, he left them all. I mean, he left them all hoping that he was returning back to his world.
Yeah.
But
I thought it was cool. He even showed them up. He's like, I'm tired of everybody telling me how my story's supposed to play out. Nah, like, I'm gonna do my own thing. And then he like, electrocutes Miguel and just like flies off and activates his invisibility. And now it's like, oh, all these spider people just left the headquarters alone, and he gets back that way.
Yeah, except for the girl that was helping him out.
Spider-Bite, yeah.
Spider-Bite, yeah. So that worked out, and yeah, I mean,
and what's crazy is like you didn't even realize it, but like it says where he's going. It said like
it did say it. I saw it too, and I'm like, when it happened, I'm like, that's not going to be his world because they're going into the Spider's world. It looks like, and then that's really what happened.
And like the way they frame it, it's just like, oh, like this is crazy, like so well done. Like you don't realize it. Like you believe they're in the same place.
And Gwen's outside waiting to talk to him. Yeah, it's like you really do.
She's listening. Like you feel like she's listening to this conversation. But then, like, when the mom's like, what'd you do with your hair? It's like, what? And then, who's Spider-Man? And you're like, and the fact that he had a purple hoodie, I was like, why was hoodie purple?
Yeah.
And then, I was like, oh, shit. And, the realization was an amazing twist, because it was all there. It was all laid out for us, and yet, you still don't think about it until...
Yeah. And I love the Prowler moment that it's him, and that ending point reveal. That was really cool, and Spot being ultra powerful too, ready to get to his world, his actual world.
Yeah. And then really quick, I wanted to rewind a little bit because I think before that part happened, we see the
Gwen's thing.
The thing with Gwen where she resolved her issues with her dad, because ultimately, like this is, it's always when we have the Spider characters, it's always about like how they have a troubled relationship with their family and stuff like that. So it was good to see again like a positive resolution to this, right? Rather than like when he said he quit his job, I was like, whoa. Yeah. And then the realization that wait, you're not going to be captain came through, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. And all the watercolor changed and everything.
Yeah. It was impressive actually, that change of character that you didn't expect from the beginning of the movie, and then it was great arc for her for the entire movie. Like it really, like you said, it set her up to be the hero to go in to save him in part 2. So yeah, I don't know. I love that aspect of it too. I gotta read the comic books for her. I really do.
Yeah. She seems like I want to read some Miles comics too, because I caught a couple early on and just didn't keep up.
The Ultimate stuff is really all I've been familiar with.
And I don't know why, but like her in that at the end of that sequence when she webbed him to come pull him into a hug, I just thought that was like, I was like, oh god, like like I'm not crying, you're crying kind of thing. Like it's like, oh, like look, like they care about each other and they're gonna be able to have a relationship after this. Like okay.
Yeah. So yeah. Anything?
And then her building because like it starts with her wanted like, oh, I just want to be in a band, and then like she walks away from her band, but
right.
I have no friends, but then it ends with her friends, the new band, like the people that really matter in her life.
So who was
the real? The real question I had was, does Nicolas Cage come back for the second part now?
Oh yeah, I mean I think Spider Noir was at the end there. I think
we saw. Is it going to be him? Because they said they didn't ask him to. Obviously, why they didn't ask him to do a voice, but did they ask him to do something for part 2?
Of course.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. Like,
Right.
I mean, we saw Penny Parker. I do have to admit, I love her new redesign because to me, the weakest part of Spider Verse 1 was like, I was like, if she's supposed to be like the anime Japanese, like this is kind of like a fake version of it. Like it's kind of like, not my
Yeah, hamster
style.
ball. What do you
Yeah,
do?
hamster
Yeah,
ball and stuff
yeah.
like that. So I love the redesign of her and her
Spider Pig was there.
Spider Pig. Yeah.
Spider.
Peter B. Parker, but it looked like there was a couple other spider characters that I couldn't
Well,
recognize.
the Indian.
Yeah, Indian and Hobie, right?
Spider. Hobie was there. Yep.
Okay.
What was cool about Hobie was they, um, like made him much more like that whole like newspaper magazine clipping
Yeah,
style, where
yeah.
it's like raggedy and like the frame rate was off. I love that aspect of him.
Yep.
And man, he was so cool. Like it's such a cool character because like everything he did, they talked about, he was backing up with
Yeah.
his actions.
Right through with
Yeah.
it. So
Because I even was like, well, if you hate the man and the system so much, why are you here? But then, like, the
Yeah.
next scene he quits. He's like, I'm out, and like throws his like, thing. I'm like, okay,
Mhm.
good for you, dude. You're walking the walk. You're not just like a bunch of hot air and stuff like that. Because a
Mhm.
lot of these.
he was like waiting to quit. He just waited for that catalyst. He's like he was ready. He was ready for Miles. He's like
Yeah.
I'm waiting.
I actually kind of wonder if he only was sticking around until Miles showed up.
Waiting for
Kind of.
Miles, 'cause he gave him the hand thing.
Yeah.
He gave Gwen the bracelet. I mean, he was waiting for all of this.
Yeah.
So he may have been like, no, this guy's fucking nuts. I'm gonna do my own shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. He may have done that from the beginning.
Yeah.
So
But like I said, like for like the way the story was constructed, because like at the end here, the last lines are you in? Like she's talking to these spider people. It's like, are you in? Oh, Spider Bite was at the end as well.
that's right.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Because I like that she sided with Miles at the end there. Like she saw like the. I feel like I want to say like she saw like the sincerity in him and stuff like that, and that's why she kind of like rethought.
Well, like I think it's like, like because what you said, like everyone here's had
At the
this
end of the
tragic
day,
story. It's like
yeah.
maybe it doesn't have to go this way.
It's all in their heads. Maybe it can be saved. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe there is a way that this can.
Well,
go
Miles said it
somewhere.
best. Like you all let this
They
happen.
hope.
Like you're all like you all are Spider-Man, and you all will let this happen. Essentially, is what he said. It was like I'm paraphrasing that, but he basically said that to them all. Like, how can you let this happen?
that's such a get really hit hard. Like, we're supposed to be the good guys.
Yep, we're supposed to be the guys. Yeah. So it's one of the things that's like, oh man, these people went along with it. And, like I get it, you got to think about the greater good, but at the same time, like I doubt your Uncle Ben's and whatnots would want you to be like, turn a blind eye to people suffering and dying and stuff like that.
Right. If you had the chance to save some, like, it's like the one versus everyone, like that whole argument thing. You know, it's like, but does it have to be that way? Is it?
Right, because even Insomniac Spider-Man turned out that way, and I was like, really, like I get it, but like, does it have like why does it always have to be suffering? Why can't Peter Parker just?
And like you mentioned him earlier with the stories, like everyone's like telling me what my story is. Like, no, do my own thing. Again, they're calling that back. But like we hardly touched on Spot, like barely touched on him. I just want to say, like, I feel like that like he's gonna play such a big role in what's next, and some of the things he was doing was cool, like him going to the different universes, because we saw Lego universe where
I have to say that was my favorite part, honestly. Like the favorite, totally caught me off guard.
Was freaking Joe Jameson in that.
Oh god, I love how it's like
he
is
Jonas Jameson in every universe. That was established in this movie.
Yeah, and I love how even like when Lego Peter phoned in, Miguel was like, "Thanks, Peter, you're one of the best." It's like yes, like the Lego Spider-Man is one of the best Spider-Man. Thank you.
Yep.
Like,
and then like they visit the Venom universe, obviously with the convenience store lady, and
okay. I was wondering. I was like, I don't understand who this woman is.
That was the plug.
See Venom, right?
Yeah,
Right?
that was the plug.
That was the convenience store. Like she's Venom, and then
we even get to see the MTV Spider-Man guy. What was the name?
We don't saw that one, but we also saw Spectacular Spider-Man.
Oh, was it?
That's right.
I'm sorry, Spectacular Spider-Man. Yeah. He talked to Miles. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to in the third one. Like I know they've already confirmed we're gonna see they had like Tom Holland, but we're gonna see the Japanese Spider-Man,
I would expect
the Power
Madam Web would be in this.
I'm hoping Madam Web, because if you think about Madam Web had a whole arc in the Spider-Man cartoon about the multiverse.
No, she's hugely like important character as far as the Spider-Verse stuff goes.
Yeah, so
I would expect her to show up someplace.
Yeah, and I mean, if they're gonna pull out all I definitely want to see like the Capcom fighting game, Spider-Man showing up and stuff like that. I don't know what would be different.
So they did the one like swinging Spider-Man guy with the original.
Yeah.
It's like I can do everything you guys can.
Yeah. So. All right. I mean, we'll see. Got a whole year to wait, unfortunately.
I mean, I'm happy it's not even a year. It's less than a year, but
It's less than a year. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm so happy because like I cannot wait for this sequel, the third
Yeah,
one,
same
because like
Mhm.
this just blew me away. I had a smile on my face like almost the entire movie. The only
Same
parts
here.
where
Yeah.
where I was like, oh my god, like you broke Miles' heart. How could you do this to him? He's a precious baby. He needs to be protected. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
man.
Right.
that's it's great. And as far as it being the part one, like that was the most disappointing part of it,
that's the most
probably.
disappointing part. Yep.
Like
That
it's like
100% is.
yeah, it's just like oh, he didn't get to finish the fight.
I never left the movie theater more angry that I couldn't see the rest of it. Like
Yeah.
I was like a kid. I was like, oh come on,
Yeah.
come on.
Earth 42 though, like I'm very curious to see like Uncle Aaron and Miles and
Yeah.
Earth 42's versions of those guys because because Miles is the
Miles
Prowler in
Prowler,
that
yeah.
version. And he looks like because he should have been the one that got bit, right? That
I guess that's the
Spider-Man,
implication there. Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
yeah, he turned into the
Alright.
Prowler instead. So
Cool.
yeah, I'm curious to see how it all plays out because it was such a such a
Yeah.
good movie. Like, how do you again top what you've already had? Like, oh, I don't know.
Nope.
Or was he not supposed to get bit? Was there another Peter Parker that was supposed to be there, and he was going to be the Prowler?
There was a drawing
Was-
with the spider supposed to go like, Miles with the braids. There's a picture.
Oh,
Oh, so
really?
right.
I didn't notice that.
I
Yeah.
missed
Okay.
that. So
And they're doing all the 42 stuff. And 42, another reference, like another
Yeah.
answer to everything.
So,
Mhm.
all right. So that's going to wrap up this bonus round, folks. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate it, guys. Once again, we live streaming on Twitch Tuesday nights at 8 o'clock. YouTube the following day for all this content. So please tune into all of that. More bonus rounds coming your way soon, I'm sure. We will see you guys soon, though. We are out tonight. Thanks.
It's